Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here for Expectations versus Reality, what consumers really think about your digital marketing. We're going to let some folks trickle in here over the next minute or two, so sit tight and we'll get started here in just a moment. Thanks. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's discussion here on what consumers really think about your digital marketing, presented and hosted by MessageGears. Here we go. I want to introduce our speakers for today's discussion and webinar. Natalia Dykyj, who is the Chief Marketing Officer here at MessageGears. Ryan Serpan, who is the VP of Strategy and Insights at Blend 360. And I am Will Devlin. I'm your MC here. I'm the VP of Marketing at MessageGears. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I lost my screen. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about what we're gonna do here over the next 20 to 25 minutes or so. We're gonna talk through a report that MessageGears released last month about what consumers expect to receive from brands and their thoughts on the consumer experience most brands are giving them, particularly in the online shopping and digital marketing mix. So we'll go through a little bit about the results and then pause for discussion around a few main points that are worth discussing. We'll summarize everything at the end and we'll do a little bit of a Q&A. At any point, we do want this to be interactive, so if you are an attendee, feel free to ask questions throughout. We'll also have a poll or two, and the actual report is available at MessageGears.com. It's also down here in the handout section of the webinar, and we'll send it to you in an email after this is all finished as well. So just a brief background on the report. So the Consumer Engagement Survey was a study that was aimed at understanding the behavior and preferences of online shoppers. So it was really with a big bent towards retail and online shopping. We did this in Q3 of last year, late Q3. We targeted 1,000 individuals who reported making an online purchase at least once per month on average. This was all self-reported surveys, which are analyzed here. You can see on the right side the respondents of how often people shopped online that involved this report. And that brings us to our first poll question, which is, how often do you all shop online? So we'll give you about 30 seconds here to fill this out here. How often do you make a purchase online? I'm seeing some maybe expected results here. Some of you do not shop online very much. We'll close the poll and share the results here in just a second. All right, so the results here with our audience in-house here. Most of you selected about once a week. Some do a few times a week. Nobody did a few times a year. We only had a few that did once a month. I am very surprised in this day and age that people only shop about once a month online, but you know what? More power to you. That sounds awesome. Because mine is definitely a few times a week, and it is so frequent that I get stuff at the door that I'm not even sure we ordered.
Yeah, I got
All right.
the wear mark on my phone from the buy now slider from Amazon, you know. So.
That's right. Yeah, there's a nice little indentation there. Let's start getting into the results themselves. We're going to start with some questions around devices and channels. And the first piece of results here is, where do consumers place the most online orders? So when they're shopping online, like Ryan, people are mostly doing this by mobile device. There was only 32% of the respondents said that they did mostly PC or desktop. There was 13% that did a mix of both mobile and their PC or desktop equally. But mostly online, most online purchases are done from a mobile device. When we asked then how consumers want to receive promotional messages from brands, we got a lot of a different answer here. Most people want to get promotional messages through email. They prefer that the most. In fact, 51% prefer that the most. People would not prefer at all to get promotional messages and marketing messages through push notifications or SMS messages. More skewed to the negative there. And so this brings us to our first discussion point, which is really, to me, is very interesting, which is, you know, there's a dynamic here where people prefer the promotions through email, and but they're shopping using their mobile devices. So Ryan, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that, and why do you think that is?
Well, I think the key word in that sentence is promotional messages. And if you think about how SMS hits you, there's kind of a privacy component of that, right? That's the safe space where you're having conversations with your friends, and you've got group chat, threads, and you're sending pictures of your kids to your mom, and then all of a sudden I'm trying to offer you 25% off on these really cool pair of pants. That may be the wrong time and place for it. Where we do see SMS as an awesome vehicle for transaction. Hey, I ordered something, I want to know when it's arriving. Or, hey, I've got a customer experience need, I want to get answers to questions. That is where SMS becomes a very different tool compared to, say, email. And so I look at it like email is the safe space where I can choose when I'm going to go in there. I can choose when I'm going to go look at material, and then I can sift and sort and manage through that. It's very different than me trying to just kind of show up, to your inbox. And I always think of it as like direct mail. It shows up in my mailbox. I go to the mailbox when I want. I can sift through my mail. If you walk up to my door and ring my doorbell, and my dog barks and wakes up my kid, you just tick me off, right? So if we try to make those correlations between those moments, I think that's the way I see it, and that's why we see it that way.
Yeah, I think very similarly. I think of it as compartmentalizing your life, right? Most folks I know, they don't have alerts set on their email to ping them every time a new email comes in, whether that's work or whatnot. You have to choose to go to that place and view your work email, view your promotional emails, all of the emails. So to hit somebody in the right moment and disrupt their day with an SMS or a mobile push, that's a much more disruptive experience. That's why brands need to be really artful and really like timely and contextually relevant when they do send that message, because it can be really powerful if you get at the right time. But if you're sort of disrupting their everyday flow, it's a very different equation.
It is such a personal thing, right? To get a SMS, to me, is a great example of, if I get a text from a brand giving me a coupon or something, like I'm almost annoyed by it. And we look at MessageGears here, we're guilty of it like anybody else, but we talk about like, oh, the open rates on SMS are so high, or of course they are, because they're intrusive. They're coming straight to you. They're being pushed in your face through a medium that you're not normally used to seeing promotional messages. So yeah, I'm going to look at those things. It doesn't mean I'm ever going to be swayed to buy anything, and certainly isn't a great experience. So I guess what we're saying here, and is really that mix here. We don't want marketers. This isn't telling us marketers should only focus on, hey, send email, make sure it's mobile optimized. Don't have a push strategy or an in-app strategy or an SMS strategy. It's just information to know really what that optimal mix is.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Email is number one. We got to keep doing the email. But if you can do the SMS and the push in that right contextually relevant moment, right? It's a rising tide lifts all ships. All of those touch points are part of your brand experience. And so
Yep.
if you can give them a good experience, it doesn't matter whether the conversion happens right there or in the store or on the website or through the email. You're making a great experience for your consumers, and that'll lead to ultimate purchase decisions. So it's
Yeah, I
got to
always
be.
look at, oh, sorry, Natalia. Yeah, I look at it like if I need something right now, text is a channel I might go to, right? You know, if my order didn't show up or, you know, showed up with something wrong, that might be a point where I want immediate feedback and immediate discussion. So that's where SMS can become a valuable, you know, power tool in your brand kit, right? And then your customer experience kit. I think promotions can still have like a moment in time that works in SMS. You just have to be really thoughtful about it. If you do it like email, where it's 3 blasts a week or 4 blasts a week or 5 blasts a week, see ya, I'm gone. I mean, I'm going to be gone. But if you really timed it right, you gave me the right contextual message at that right point in time, I might find some delight in that. And so I think there's just a really delicate balance there. And I'll just go back to the question. If you ask me when I want promotions, I'm going to tell you, you know, probably not, you know, my private life. But I don't think it means that SMS is a dead channel to us. I just think we have to be smart about how we orchestrate it. So.
Terrific, terrific. Okay, we'll go to, oh my gosh, it minimized on me again. All right, message frequency. Here are some interesting results. So we asked how often customers prefer to receive messages, kind of piggybacking on Ryan's just point here. How often do you want to get promotional messages from brands? Of course, what people will tell you here is going to be different than how they actually act on those things, for better or for worse. But most people said weekly. The second most highest there at 21% was monthly. A few times a week was rounding out the top 3 here. So weekly is sort of that sweet spot, or a couple times a week. What we're not seeing is sort of the everybody, you know, send more email, let me get a daily promotion to you or something like that. We're not seeing that here. And then we asked how many customers say they will unsubscribe from brands that send too many messages or too many irrelevant messages. And as you can see here, not surprisingly, a lot of them strongly agree with that. Almost half of them strongly agree with that. Another third say that they somewhat agree. So look, if you send too many messages that are unwelcomed, and that could be not just volume, but the channel, or if those messages are irrelevant, it is likely to turn some folks off. So that'll bring us to our next discussion point here. Natalia, I'll start with you. So to me, a common go-to lever for marketers is to send more email, right? Like you just get this like, okay, like sales are rough this week or whatever the case may be, just press send again. And so, you know, people have given preferences here, but what do you think the breaking point is, or how should marketers take this data and respond?
I mean, I thought it was actually a pretty interesting spread of preferences, and maybe that's kind of the point, right? The same way we would personalize an email to somebody's preferences, shouldn't we be determining frequency based on people's preferences? So not only should every brand be determining what's right for their overall customer group, but also for individuals, for individual cohorts, individual preferences, all of that. There's no one size fits all solution for any of the things that we do as marketers. So I think the more that we can understand our audiences and the things that matter to them and the ways they like to communicate with us, that's what you should go with.
Yeah, I would say this is one of the areas where data can really help us analyze that story, right? Because some people will open the email every time. You know, I love the brand, I shop there all the time, and I'm okay if you send me an email every day. It's not going to annoy me because, you know, I'm really into that brand. You know, whereas others might be, I've just created this relationship with you. I bought one thing from you, and now you've hit me with 19 emails in the next 48 hours. That could create a bad, you know, experience. And I think we can analyze that, right? I mean, we can collect data signals and we can look back at the cohort and say, who are they? And is there a model that tells me what the behavior will be? And then we can make decisions. I think a lot of times it gets lost. I mean, to your point, Will, right? It's just, shoot, we need to drive sales, push the button. And it's not necessarily, hey, we need to drive sales, let's talk to the people that are most likely to react to this message. and be really smart about the delivery of it, right? And so I think this is kind of an area where I feel like data signals and your ability to collect good data and then analyze that quickly, not a 10-week SLA to get an answer to something while you just missed Thanksgiving, but certainly if we can do that in somewhat real time, that's where technology and data can help you not become intrusive to the wrong people, right? So
what should the marketing mix look like? I mean, how should they look at that data and say, okay, I mean, I guess over time they could look at all of this, but like, what's the right mix of promotions, flash sales? Do I mix the frequency up over time? Like some weeks I send one message, some weeks I send multiple to different people. Like Ryan, how do you manage that mix?
Well, I think obviously starting at the kind of end of the funnel, right? Do you have a really good media mix model, and are you analyzing every channel in the media mix model, right? And if it starts kind of at that foundation, if you can't measure it, you don't know, right? And so if we're collecting the right signals at all the touch points and we're putting them in a place where we can aggregate it and see it properly, that's great. Now, that's getting harder these days with privacy laws changing, what we can track with cookies, right? So you have to be more diligent about how you collect that data and work backwards. I think so. Maybe the best answer I can give there is just that I don't know that there's one size that fits all. I don't know if there's one strategy that works for everybody. It's really the discipline of saying, I'm not going to just measure attribution at the channel level. I'm going to measure attribution at the multi-touch level. And once I can do that, and I can do it accurately and believe the story that I'm telling, then you can set up test holdouts, control groups, and then you can begin to really analyze the effect of these different things. But if your measurement isn't ready, and more importantly, for those that are on call, if you're not ready for the cookieless, advent when Chrome loses cookies, that's probably an area we got to focus to make sure you're ready, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There is no one size fits all here. So everything is going to be dependent on you, your audiences, their preferences, your ability to track what they're engaging with, what they're not engaging with, testing different possibilities, right? Getting creative in how well you can personalize and get them the right offer based on intelligent behavioral data or other insights. Like there's a mix of creativity in there too, and just testing and learning and using the data to figure out what works for you and what doesn't.
Love that. Okay. All right. This was interesting. So only 11% of consumers say that the large brands that they interact with exceed their expectations all the time. You see a lot in the middle that are just sort of indifferent here in the yellow, but only 11% of us are saying, oh yeah, they go above and beyond. I notice them. They stand out to me. We have this notion here. It's obviously not exclusive to us at MessageGears. We talk about enabling these surprise and delight moments, right? These things that really can stand out in the clutter. And what we found here in this report is that these moments don't come often enough. Most people say they either come sometimes or rarely. And so these are the ways that brands, particularly if you are not you're in a crowded vertical, or you're not the biggest brand in the space, you have to find a way to stand out somehow, and this is a great mechanism to do that. And we're seeing that, look, not a lot of people are noticing those things. This was, to me, one of my favorite questions and answers here, and cause for some surprise. So we asked, regarding these brand communications, we asked consumers to rank the elements of the consumer experience that they found most important. And what really jumps out here, the far and away number one thing was, I want the brands that I do business with to keep my data secure. Number two was timely and helpful responses to their inquiries. Number three was communication being in sync across different channels with 30%. Then we had relevant product recommendations, and then coming in last was personalized digital messaging in the ranked order. So this, to me, was a fairly, it was kind of surprising to see the ordering there. Natalia, what surprises you about those answers?
Yeah, it's funny. The top two didn't surprise me. It's like a hierarchy of needs, right? I need safety and I need help when I need help. So those two, no surprise. The one that really surprised me was how low personalization ranked. And I'd ask you, I don't know. I can't explain why that one ranked so. The only thing I could think of was that maybe folks realize they're getting personalized email all the time, but it's not relevant. And so that's why maybe the two relevance ones ranked higher. I don't know. How did you guys process that one?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the five answers within the question were kind of in different locusts, right? Like one is like security and necessity, to your point, right? Then the other three are like, do you want things to be personalized? And if I got to rank the five, I'm certainly going to rank security right now, right? Like, and then everything else can kind of come after. So I'd be interested in that question, lacking the transactional components and focusing on the personalization components and understanding like what relevancy actually means to a person, and then see how it ranks differently. But with all that being said, what we see on the screen there, and I guess going back to the landscape of the question, I would ask all the marketers out there, how many of you have a KPI in your matrix that is personalization and customer delight? If you don't have that KPI and you're not measuring it, of course you're not hitting it. There's a reason why so many companies don't hit that metric, because I bet you're all measured on sales, ROAS, cost per, right? Things that are very transactional. So you're going to focus on those things. And let's be real, direct response messaging sometimes isn't the most surprise and delight messaging, but it is the most converting. So we're going to default to conversion heavy messages, not necessarily experience heavy messages, right? So I'd be interested if how many people think you could go back to your organization and get a check yes on a KPI that says customer experience is now going to be a KPI we're going to measure. I think that'd be an interesting one to add to the matrix, right?
I found it interesting. We just got. I agree with you in they mean different things to different people. Of course, I want brands to take care of my data, and I would care more about that than I would care about personalization. But I did think it was interesting that the previous stat we looked at was that people have said like, these surprise and delight moments don't happen often enough. So they're telling us, in the order of operations here, personalization is last in those choices, but they're also saying like, I'm not getting great experiences here. What are some small wins, Ryan, that marketers can do to sort of cut through the clutter and maybe increase their share of those surprise and delight moments?
Well, like I said, I think that could you somehow get a KPI into your matrix that says customer surprise and delight moments and measure that in a way? And, it goes to everything from like, the amount of money we spend on brand marketing, to try to create broad-based awareness. I wonder how much of those budgets could be turned into surprise and delight moments, right? And say, hey, I want a portion of my marketing spend to be around taking the cohorts that I have that are high value to my company. Then I don't know, you're a t-shirt company, ship them one free t-shirt this month, for no reason. Don't, just use their last preference and just send them something. And again, now you got product involved, and I get it. It's easy for me to say that and harder to kind of figure that out. But I think thinking strategically more about what is going to create the words surprise, right, and delight, and it's not going to be a 20% off coupon. I'll just tell everyone on this call right now, I'm expecting you to send me a 20% off coupon every month, right? And if you're that brand, I'm expecting you to be on sale on a cadence, and I'm looking for that. So what would actually be differentiated for your brand, I think, is the thing you got to look for. And the reality is it's probably, again, not just another offer or a promotion, but it really probably has something to do with like changing that experience, right? So look at I'll pull up some like relevant case study. I think like credit card companies do a great job at this, right? Where they give you a free ride in a Mercedes if you spend a certain amount of money, or you get access to concert tickets that you couldn't have gotten somewhere else. I mean, just kind of making some things up, but these are ways that they've looked beyond just the product itself and said, I can add to this product experience and it fits my brand message, right? So your Patagonia, I don't know, send me a koozie this month, right, to go with my camping trip. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, those are delightful to me. I love it when brands send me something like that and it's unexpected. The other one I was thinking about though is it's not just about selling me something or sending me something. It's also about how can you be helpful to me in a way where you're not pitching me, you're not trying to get me to buy something. You're just giving me the right information that I need to make some other decision about something else. So it's not just always about the pitch and about getting the dollars for me. Be helpful to me in the moment that I need it. And that helps me build affinity with your brand, helps me build trust, all the things that will ultimately lead to a purchase decision. But I have found that those are the moments that were delightful to me, right? It's not that they were trying to hit me over the head with an offer or 20% off coupon. I can get that anytime, right? But if you're really being helpful to me in a way that I don't feel like you're trying to sell something, that to me is delightful.
Great. All right, we are going to go through a little bit more data here before we wrap things up. So there we go. Couple questions here on personalization and a couple of key points. So lack of relevance, kind of echoing some of the things we just talked about, is bad for business. Half of respondents in our survey said that they were annoyed when brands sent generic messages, and over 75% that they will unsubscribe from brands that send too many irrelevant messages. 2/3 of our respondents here said that brands that create a personalized customer experience are more likely to get their business. Surprise, surprise. The other hand here, 87% feel that less than half of the brand marketing messages that they get are personalized. So that's kind of a awful point here. And a couple of final points here on the customer experience. A lot of people say, 2/3 here say that most of the time they actually don't remember opting in for marketing messages, but then almost the same amount of folks say that they'll open marketing messages that are relevant or from their favorite brands. I can tell you when I scroll through my folders here in Gmail, like I don't remember if I've opted into something or if they're spamming me. But I will pay attention to ones that seem interesting and relevant to me, and so this tracks for me at least. But a lot of times most people don't remember subscribing. And then what consumers are doing when they're getting these messages from brands. 34% only open the marketing or promotional messages that seem relevant to them. Again, kind of echoing some of the themes we were seeing. They only open the marketing and promotional messages they got from their favorite brands. A few people, 14%, say that they just unsubscribe from everything. They don't want to get any marketing messages at all. And then finally, this one I find interesting for discussion as well. So do customers, are they more likely and willing to share information with a brand if they feel confident that the brand is going to use that to improve their future experiences with them? You see 23% strongly agree, another 38% said that they somewhat agree. So a really, really strong indication here that if you build that trust and that confidence, you are going to definitely get rewarded for that with more of that rich zero-party data. So we went through quite a bit there. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. Natalia, I'll start with you. To me, they're interesting on the personalization side because, again, we saw personalization, one of the last things that was stack ranked in terms of importance, but here we're getting consistent results around people telling us it's annoying and that they'll unsubscribe when they get messages that they don't feel is relevant, that they don't feel are tailored to their needs. So what are the marketers that are here today or listening, what are they supposed to do with this information? Like what to make of it?
Yeah, I mean, the way I processed it was, yes, security and helpfulness, absolutely important. But maybe just consider personalization as a standalone thing. Yes, you need to personalize, right? And the data supports that. If consumers are getting messages that are not personalized, are not relevant, they're unsubscribing, they're not converting, they're not delighted, they're not building affinity with your brand, you're not creating the types of end outcomes that you're trying to create. So I think the bottom line is, regardless of what may be more important to them from a safety and security and whatever other standpoint, if you want your messages to convert, you need to be more personalized and relevant and timely and get them the right offers and messages and help at the right time.
Yeah, I think the challenge here is how do you create personalization and relevancy? I've seen a lot of times in some of our clients that, yeah, we're going to personalize, and they set up the triggers and they've got all the automations, they've got all the MarTech to do it, and then it's basically the same offer with just a different color and a different button. That's not personalization. Nobody knows that you changed the color for them. Nobody knows that you moved the button for them. Those are optimizations. And so I think strategically, one of the ways that we talk about it is audience strategy versus product strategy. I think a lot of times budgets are derived against a line of business, a product budget, a promotional window, and that kind of kills your opportunity to truly personalize something, because you're really focused on, I got to spend this money around this promotional window, around this product set, because that's where my budgets came from and that's where they have to go. Where's the audience in that? So if you're not strategically planning the audience journey around the consumer and around what's valuable to the consumer, then the personalization is never going to come through, right? And like I think I always use these appliance examples because they're easy, but you can get budget appliances and premium appliances, right? And the premium appliances have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and features, and then other appliances are big and serve a big family. You can send an appliance message to the same set of cohorts with different focuses around why this would be important or relevant to you. And that's like relevancy without having to violate your product charter, right? But you got to plan it that way. If you don't plan it that way and you don't have the models, you can't do it, right? So then you're back to, well, I got to spend the money this month, and the offer this month is 20% off. So just like it was last month, not personal, not relevant anymore, right? So.
I'll finish with the two-parter here, which is around personalization, and then something that was mentioned here in the data around trust and consumers being willing to share more with you if they trust you. We saw earlier that keeping the data secure and answering inquiries on time and being helpful, those were the most important things. What's the balance here of building? How do you build that trust, and then also what amount of personalization is the right mix? And I know that's not an easy answer, but it's you would think at some point there's so much personalization or too much personalization, it becomes apparent you're trying so hard, it becomes a little creepy, you get backed off. So the two-parter here is how much is too much, and then how do you balance that to build that trust so that your consumers are willing to give you more information? Ryan, I'll start with you on that.
I think the brand marketers among us are going to like hearing what I'm about to say, but your brand has to have an ethos that matters. You've got to actually have a story that's relevant to your brand. You're advertising to a consumer that believes in what you believe in theoretically. And of course, it's not every cohort in your audience, but if you have that ethos and you have that truth, it's easier to then create relevancy from your brand to the consumer. If you don't, and it's just about the promotion, the pricing, the discount, the offer, and it's say like now you've become Amazon. And there's nothing wrong with Amazon. Amazon has a brand truth, which is speed, efficiency, and selection, and all those other. They're not trying to convince you on the product. They're trying to, make your life easier. So that's their ethos, and that's what they stick to, right? And I think as a brand yourself, if you have that ethos and you really know how to stick to those values and then weave that into your relevancy, that's the true long game, right? But it's a long game. It's not a short game. And that's hard, right? Because sometimes we're all measured on what's going to happen next month, right? What did you do for me lately? But truthfully, I think the brands that I see doing this right are the ones that play the long game and stick to their ethos instead of, letting, urgent needs get in the way of what their brand's really meant to stand for.
I love that. I love the whole brand ethos, absolutely. And I think it goes to what we were talking about earlier. It's not just the ethos, it's also how secure do I feel with you? How much do I trust you for help? How much are you hitting me on the head with offers versus just being helpful and relevant and timely with me? I think it's that holistic brand experience that you're creating, not just trying to sell me another product. That's fine, right? But as Ryan said, if you play that long game, that's going to pay off in dividends in the long run.
I love that. Kurt in the chat here talked about CX and saying absolutely something that should be measured, and personalization, in my opinion, has a lot more room for improvement. Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. All right, let us conclude here. We'll do some summaries here. So I think kind of what we heard through the discussion and through the data here is there's three primary things that we need to do for our customers to meet their expectations and to raise the experience. We need to take care of their data, we need to take care of their needs, and we need to be relevant and thoughtful. We do have a couple of questions. I have probably time for one or two here, to be respectful here. We'll start with this one, Natalia. What are brands that seem to get all of this right? We're kind of throwing around a lot of things here, but what are brands that stand out to you that are doing this right?
One brand that I seem to personally be using more often, I guess I'm eating out a lot more, is OpenTable. OpenTable seems to be getting all of their touch points right at the right time, right? So whether I'm on their website and I'm getting email confirmations, I'm getting an SMS, I'm having a full multi-channel experience with them, and it's delightful in how easy it is, in how simple and non-complex, and what a great customer journey it is for me. And I feel secure in the data, it's secure in the experience, and it's easy. And I have found it such a delightful, easy way for me to book tables at restaurants and eat out more often. And it actually is encouraging me to eat out more often because it is such an easy process. So that's the one that to me has really been sticking out lately.
Yeah, mine is REI. Yeah, I'm a outdoor enthusiast. Now that my children are of an age where I can get back to life and be outdoors again, they seem to have somehow pegged me just right. With the right, 3/4 zip, pullover that I need for this next trip that I'm about to go. I don't know how they do it. They really just have that model just perfect. But I also think, getting back to the ethos, they really have something that I believe in terms of what they contribute and kick back and how they support. And the other one for me is Patagonia. They've just really like hit my soul lately. I don't know what it is about. They're bringing in food for camping messaging, and I've got this wonderful content that's not them trying to sell me a sweater all the time. And I find myself reading a lot of it and then going, did I just read an article from Patagonia on how to make stew on the? I mean, I did, yeah. So I think those are the two that I would pull up. Very relevant to me specifically, but also I think they've done a really good job of balancing the promotion versus the messaging that I find interesting.
I would say one that stands out to me is Home Depot. Just doing a lot of projects here around the house all the time, and I think they've just come a long way. And we go back to the marketing mix, or the right mix of things, and on the right channels. I get email promotions, I get push notifications from them. I use their app. I will occasionally, like, I don't have a consistent way to shop with them. So sometimes I'll just look and see if they've got something and how much it is. Sometimes I'll buy it and have it shipped to my house. Sometimes I'll buy it and pick it up in the store. Sometimes I'll just be bored on a Saturday and want to get out of the house, and I'll go over there, and the app kind of changes and shows me where to find things. And so I love the fact that a company that big, and with that many stores, and certainly that a ton of customers all over the place, can make me feel like they know who I am. And I think that's that is the hallmark of what we're all trying to do here.
Yeah.
Well, great. Look, we want to thank everybody for joining, and I certainly want to thank personally here Natalia and Ryan for joining. This was really great insights. We appreciate your participation here. And again here, the consumer engagement report is available here in the handout section. It's also available at MessageGears.com. We will send you a recording of this, and also a copy of that in a follow-up email that you'll get tomorrow. We want to appreciate everybody for taking the time out today, and hope to have a great rest of your day. Hope you found this helpful. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.